So thank you very much for inviting me to this meeting. I wanted to share with you our vision on the future of communications. I'll try to cover this throughout half an hour presentation. Basically, what we've seen during the last years, and based on an international study that we do every year called Brand Sustainable Futures, that we're doing in 10 countries. We are going to be doing it in 14 countries this year, India included in this group of countries. We interview 30,000 people around the world. And basically what we try to understand is which is the situation in terms of relationship between brands and consumers. And what we are seeing is something that for us is at the same time fascinating and terrifying, is that through our studies what we see is that, that for the majority of consumers, they don't care if two-thirds of the brands that we analyze around 150 brands every year, they wouldn't care if they disappear. So there's a total loss of connection between many of the brands that we analyze, which are in many cases major brands, and their customer base. And we also, what we are seeing is a big shift in the way in which marketing and communications should be think and deployed. We believe that marketing and communications is based on an idea that the demand for products and services is something that will never stop to grow. And that the consumers will be willing always to buy more stuff and get more and more and more things out of corporations and brands. And what we see nowadays in many countries is exactly the opposite situation. We see a large supply of products for a demand which is decreasing and even in some cases becoming inexistent. We believe that one of the key things to be able to cope with this challenge of being meaningful to the customer base is being meaningful. And nowadays we still see this logic from the past, this logic of things that will never change. And we wanted to share with you an example. This is from an NIH article that appeared in May 31st. They were comparing 3 creative pieces done for car manufacturers who are launching electric cars. Electric cars, as you all know, is a big issue in the car manufacturing industry. And for us, in the advertising industry and in the media industry, should be like a celebration, no? like the possibility of doing things differently. Let's see what agencies are doing in the context of electric cars launches. So we believe this is a way of creating this connection between brands and consumers. This is one of the main issues in the car manufacturing industry that is going to be happening in the next 25 years. If the response from the advertising industry, of which we feel part coming from Havas and Havas Media, is this type of response, we're really killing the future of brands and corporations by doing this. We measure meaningfulness of brands in a very simple way. For us, the key concept is around how to create a meaningful brand, and doing this by creating meaningful communications. We ask a very simple question. We ask these 30,000 people around the world, would you care if the brand disappears in the future? Because if we believe that if the link is already cut, no matter how much marketing we do, how much we push forward TV, GRPs, we discuss social media, etc., if the link is broken, it's like a couple, no? If you ask your partner, would you like to have dinner with me? And she says yes, or he says yes. Or would you like to go to the cinema? Yes. Would you like to go on holidays? Yes. Would you care if I die? No. No matter how many things you keep on doing to try to keep this stuff alive, it's already broken. And we have to recognize this, and from there start thinking how we're going to be rebuilding the relationship with the customers. And we see that there are companies which are managing to do it, and they are managed to make profit out of the market in all situations, no matter if there's a crisis or not a crisis. They really manage to leverage their relationship with their customer. What are these companies doing? These companies are creating a new type of value exchange with their people, with their clients. They are masters not only at extracting value out of them, at getting money out of their customers, at creating strong brands which are profitable, but there are also brands which are totally focused on being able to deliver meaningful solutions to their people's life, to their customers' life. They are at the same time being able to create value for their brands and create value for the customer base, but a value which is not only a price discount, it's a value that people really feel and understand in their own terms that is being created. So they're able to create a relationship which is not based on myths or stories or identities or DNA or all these type of images which characterize the marketing of the past, but they really are able to create what we call thick value. A value which is authentic, which is shared, and which is sustainable. And we are putting here some companies that we believe are doing this or in the process of making it happen. Because this type of transformation, to create a meaningful brand, of course, is a transformation, it's a journey. It's not something that a company can do from one day to the other. It takes time, in some cases years, but we see that the companies which are leading the future are really moving into this direction. Of course, for those of you, especially who are advertisers and who has to manage your brands, there are different types of realities regarding your customer base, their expectations, and the category in which you are competing. We believe that there is a level of demand from consumers in which consumers are looking just for tangible benefits egocentrically. And these are brands which are about price, features, convenience, quantity, functionality, availability. And these brands exist and will keep on existing in the future. The only problem with this type of brands is the returns that they are getting from their products and from advertising are diminishing steadily and heavily. There are also consumers that conform a second level of demand. They are looking for intangible benefits egocentrically. This tends to be more related to aspirational brands, to the luxury category, for example. It's about status, signaling, service, quality, power, control, owning, having. And then there's a third level of demand. And this level of demand is about creating solutions for people in which customers are valuing tangible and intangible benefits allocentrically. It's not only for themselves, but they also want to be related to brands and corporations which are beneficial for the society in which they live in, that they treat properly their employees, that they are financed in a transparent way and in an ethical way, and that they have a positive impact on their well-being for the customers, but also in the society in which they operate. And we call these meaningful brands, and we recognize these brands because they talk about and they act around sustainability, responsibility, fairness, justice, compassion, truth, honesty, simplicity, integrity, and becoming. So, by this, we believe that we have three types of brands nowadays that we need to serve through marketing and communications. The more functional brands, based on features, pricing, availability, to the most advanced brands, what we call meaningful brands, which are brands that are solving real problems of their customers in a way that people really do manage to understand that those problems are being solved. When we analyze meaningful brands and the corporations that owns those meaningful brands, and we take the stock price value and its trend during the last years, we see that these companies that we recognize through the study I mentioned before are able to deliver a superior return on the stock price to their shareholders. So being meaningful as a company and as a brand pays off to the shareholders. And when we analyze different categories like food and beverage, consumer goods, IT and electronics, telecoms, etc., we see that the brands which are more meaningful, which are in every of the groups, the one on the left, are brands which have a higher familiarity, stronger consideration, higher purchase intention, and more advocacy. So being a meaningful brand is also a solution not only for shareholders, but for marketeers. It's a way of creating a new type of branding and a way of creating a new type of relationship with your customers. We believe that we need a new vision for communications. At Havas Media, we call this vision meaningful communications. and we believe that meaningful communications is about maximizing brand value. This means selling more profitable, and having a stronger equity by enhancing the quality, the depth, breadth, and frequency of brand-inspired dialogue, exchange, and interaction that occurs within a community. This is what we try to do when we're thinking about communications. This is the basic checklist that we do when we're trying to solve a communications challenge that one of our clients have. So this is the schematic that I'm showing you this to take you through the presentation. So brand values at the top is what we try to create. We measure this. We measure everything we do in communications against brand value in the way in which the client understands it. In some cases, it would be around brand equity. In some cases, pure sales. For some other people, it's about profitability. It varies by category and by the interest of the client. To do this, we need to create meaningful brands. To create meaningful brands, we need to do meaningful communications, which is, again, is about the quality of the interaction that we're putting in front of the client. And we need to be conscious about the type of interaction that we are creating when we are doing communication campaigns. It's about the communication, the type of interaction, the type of dialogue we are building through three communication systems that are living together, and I'll go through this later, and thinking when we're doing communications that we're talking to a community, that we're talking to people. We are not segmenting people and targeting them and bombarding them with messages any longer. We can do that. It's not working. Or it's not working as it used to work in the past. So talking to a community is about creating communications experiences that are able to drive a positive emotion in the people who are part of this communication experience, that people feel engaged, that being in touch with these communications, they feel that this is something special out of their day-to-day life. It's about communications, it's about relationships, it's about putting the communication platform for other people to feel part of communication and relate to each other, because well-being is also part of being related to other people. It's about meaningfulness, it's about, these concepts are a little bit obscure, and then I'll talk about communications, which is the top 3 trust elements in the communications platforms. Quality of communications. We believe that superior brands nowadays and the most advanced marketeers are based, all that what they do, on bringing outcomes to their customers. Outcomes for us is well-being, and well-being that can be economic, of course, selling something cheap, but it can also be human, it can be social, it can be intellectual, and it can be environmental. In the past, we believe that communications was about talking about your products, services, and solutions. And in the present and in the future, communications will be about solving real problems for people and bringing them well-being in a tangible way. We believe that this is pretty relevant in the case of India. This is results from our study. Here we were asking people in 2010, how often do you consider environmental, social, or ethical aspects when making a purchasing decision when you go shopping? And you see the always and often lines in India, Mexico, Brazil, and China are very, very high. So when we started running this type of studies, we had a previous study on climate change around 5 years ago. You see clearly that there are two types of mindsets. The emerging economies or the BRIC economies, we believe, have a more advanced mindset in terms of recognizing how brands and corporations should be related to people, which are completely different from the mindset that we get in the US or in the UK, which is where marketing was born. So we believe that the new wave of marketing and communications is growing in countries like this, like in India or in Brazil. We'll find it in countries like this. We'll find it in India, in Mexico, in Brazil, in China, in this type of countries. It will be tough for us to discover the new wave of marketing in countries, sorry to say this, like UK or Germany, because the mindset that these people have is radically different in the way in which they see the relationship with their customer base. Another thing that we found very interesting in India, this is a segmentation around the study. And here we have people that feel themselves hostages, people that are aware of sustainability as something key, but they don't know how to act because they don't have the means to really help solving this problem. Disengaged, this means people who don't care. Devotees, people who are absolutely around this topic. Critics, people that believe that sustainability is important, but don't understand what companies or brands are doing for this. And skeptics, people who really don't care. If you compare India with the global average of what we do, you can see very easily that